Okay, there we go. So what I've really been contemplating over the last couple of days, and for those of you that are listening in recording time, taking things to the next level again, for me personally. And in fact, I meant to grab this book. Let me just see if I can find it real quick off my bookshelf. Yeah, right here. This was really the book that changed it for me. Lenny Evans handed this to me when we were in his car driving on the way to California on a presentation that he was doing. A little bit of a glare there. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace, Wattles. Let's see his name at the bottom. Yeah, Wallace, Wattles. Let's see if I can get that to where you can read it. Is it backwards to you guys? No? Okay. So The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace, Wattles. I didn't know who Bob Proctor was at the time, but this is how I came to know Bob Proctor. He's the one that had this reprinted, this particular book that I'm holding in my hand. It was out of print, and you can bring things back into print. And he said it was the book that, I think Earl Nightingale or Conant, one of those two, handed it to him. And he said it was the book that changed his life. And it was the book that actually changed Rhonda Byrne's life, who was inspired to do the movie The Secret. She read this book and the things that she learned and how it turned her life around. I actually got this book and started reading it. Lenny pointed me to a certain chapter with three paragraphs in it, and he said, read that and just see how that hits you, as we were driving in the car. And I read it, and it hit me very powerfully. Like, I know that like the Spirit took that into my heart, like there's something here. And it just hit me very powerfully in a way that probably nothing really ever has. And it was one of the most profound things that hit me when I read it. I didn't fully understand it, but it just hit me to know more. So I stayed up the whole night and read the whole book. But then I've spent the last 14 years putting it into practice. I don't read a lot of books, but I read, things that are related to this book right here. And because it's so clear and simple, but yet profound, there's a lifetime of study here. And it really was the book that the results started to change in my life. There was other dynamics that I had already incorporated into my life, skills, personal discipline, things like that. But there were some other pieces that I was missing that was really key. And this book filled in those gaps. And I started going from one magnificent win to the next. And I was able to, through work and through the proper application of that work mentally, it changed my life. And I have not stopped talking about this. There's not a day that's gone by where I haven't thought about how to apply what's in this book. There's not one day that's gone by. It was that transformational for me. And I ended up doing a podcast around a book that came, I think it was the second or third book after this one that was related to what was in here. And that was, we did the podcast Mechanic to Millionaire on the Master Key System by Charles Hannell. And that took us about 6-7 years to get through that, 300 episodes on our podcast. And it was ranked number 13th in the world by Inc. magazine. And I've gotten messages from people all over the world about how that podcast and them applying those principles has changed their lives and their kids' lives, and just the amazing stories. In fact, I called someone because our house, we had a leak in our roof in the garage. And when I talked to somebody on the phone, they said, "Oh, Mechanic to Millionaire, you're the guy in Isogenics, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So it really has had a profound effect in other people's lives too, because it's an exact science. And the thing about it is you got to have the personal commitment and hold yourself accountable. And when you have a book like this, there's nobody that's calling you to make sure that you're applying the things that you're reading or that you understand them. And so through doing the podcast, I felt like it was our way of being able to give back and just something that I was so passionate about. And so as I've just been contemplating over the last few days, this morning, it all solidified. So that text that some of you received in the Facebook post was all off of it just coming to a head this morning. And it was inspiration of bringing personal development. And, even when I did the podcast, I never mentioned Isogenics in it. I wanted it to be no reason for people to judge it or think that there was an agenda behind it, other than just the principles that were being taught there and how to apply them in any situation. And so, and even when I've done trainings like Super Saturdays on the Mechanic to Millionaire, type training mindset, and it still, it was meant to be incorporated into Isagenix, but you kind of had to figure out how to do that, how to very detailed and specifically, with great detail, how to combine the two. And somebody who did a really incredible job at that is Casey Pluff. And, she took it and ran with it, and did the same thing in her life that I was able to do with mine with Isagenix. And so as I was just thinking, it came to a head this morning, do the personal development, but with the Isagenix attached to it in every way, like get into specifics and details. So it kind of be like Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, Bouchard, Bob Proctor, they have the personal development seminars, and then people go back home and without really knowing how to apply it, they kind of fall back into their same rut. And it's really, there is some difficulty into applying it. And so this morning, it came more in my head than I'm going to be able to articulate to you. But over the weeks, as we do this Zoom, which will go up on YouTube, they'll be recorded, because each one of them are going to be essential to go to the next one. They'll all fit together. And over time, it starts to bring the pieces of the puzzle together. It doesn't happen in the first 2 or 3 or 5 weeks, but over 6, 8, 12, 20, a year of doing it every week, these pieces will start to come together to where this personal development with the vehicle of Isagenix is going to be combined together. And I don't know that that's ever really happened before. I know there's personal development in Isagenix and people are applying it to their businesses. But on this level of how detailed I was with the podcast, those 300 shows, and how detailed I'm going to be on how to apply it to your Isagenix business, which to me, that's just a way of saying for your life, every area of your life, will raise up. But I'm going to do it not strictly, but very specifically and detailed oriented to personal development and Isagenix together. So the vehicle and this book, and we're going to read this book. This is going to be mandatory that you get this book to be on the Zoom. So you could get the hard copy. I don't know that you'll find this one. I don't think it's still in print, but you can get the electronic version. But you need it where it's the words. If you want to get the recording, the audio, that's fine, but that's just an added option. You need the actual where you can read it. All right, so whether it's electronic or you find a version of it that you can get on Amazon or wherever and have the hard copy in your hand. I'm going to use the hard copy again and go back to 14 years ago when I first read it. So we'll read through this, and it's going to be like a course. I'm not going to be here to entertain anybody. I'm not going to be here to convince anybody. This is not a convincing, and I'm not going to try to convince you to embrace and internalize the things that I'm teaching. I'm just going to put them out there for you to have exposure to them. So you're going to have to hold yourself accountable to that, and the discipline that it takes to do that. I will be asking certain specific things to be done, that if you follow through with them, it's an exact science, you guys. It's just like math. And he talks about that in here, and we'll get to that as we go through the book. But it's just like doing, a farmer planting and reaping a harvest. There's an exact science to it, and it can't fail if you follow the steps. It can't fail. And so I'm excited to see what comes about, bringing the two and meshing the two together. I'm going to share my screen here and just share with you my chicken scratch that I did kind of throughout the day today. So it's not a convincing. You can evaluate it if you want. You can judge it. You can question it. You can disbelieve it. In any way that you want. I'm not here to try to convince you. It's like the book says, if I was going to write a book to try to convince you of these laws, it would be many, many volumes thicker than this. Right? It would take volumes to do that. And that's not what this is about. This is for those that just want to embrace it because you trust, and you're going to just, play at 100%. when we avoid the choices we feel in the heart, what happens is we start to get into a destructive justification behavior. So I'm going to have you do specific things, and in your heart, you'll feel whether you should do them or not. But the moment we jump out of the heart and we should do something that we know we should be doing, like when it comes to choices, we all have that conscience. That's the spirit. There's just no way to get away from that conscience that says, hey, you should make this choice because it's the better choice out of the two options that you have right now. Whenever there's a book that Malcolm Hunt introduced to me, and when we choose not to make that choice, that's a self-betrayal. And once we betray that choice we should have made, we start getting into the justification behavior, and that's where life goes sideways. And we start to glorify ourselves, and we start to demean others when we get into that place. And so we'll talk about that as we go throughout this. Again, I just want to say that up front. This is not to try and convince you of these things. This is just to give you the steps. And when I read this book, for some reason, I just had that trust. It hit me that way, that I was going to do what it said, even though it sometimes didn't make sense, or there was just complete, like, I had never heard of anything like that before. But I followed that choice that I was going to make, and I didn't betray myself in those choices. And so the actions followed those choices. But when we don't follow, like let me just say, like, if you're going to commit to this, one of the things to do is going to be minimum 20 minutes every morning reading the book, and let's say a half hour of your hour of power, but 20 minutes of going towards your vision, like vision casting, and also studying the book. So maybe, a total of a half hour to do that. And you decide not to do that morning, that will be a betrayal. So that's how we get into self-betrayal. I know I should do it this morning, and we come up with the self-justifications. And that's where life starts to go sideways. So you're going to find that you're going to have all kinds of opportunities to betray yourself or to follow through with it and do the actions. And if you do the actions, then if those actions are in accordance with what's being taught here, which is an exact science, then your life has to improve. You have to start going from one magnificent win to the next. And that's going to be an individual thing. So if we drop down here to the bottom, it says individual as far as progression goes. In the book, he talks about a student that he had that said, this stuff didn't really make sense. I'm pretty skeptical about it, but I'm going to play out 100%. So just tell me what to do. And so he decided he was going to use these principles to get a rug for his apartment. Now, this was like back in the 1930s. So this guy couldn't afford the rug. It was, he didn't know how he was going to get a rug for his apartment, but he decided that's what he's going to use. He's going to apply these principles towards getting a rug for his apartment. And he got the rug. After he got the rug, which he didn't know how he was going to get it, there was no clear way as to how he was going to get the rug, purchase the rug for his apartment. He realized he asked too small. And so he went to the next step. So on an individual basis, I don't know if it's the rug, but his next step was a stove where he could heat his apartment. And there was a certain name for the stove. I can't remember. It says in the book, like a Benite stove or something like that. And then he got the stove. And then he decided he was going to put a bay window in his apartment. And he got the bay window, and he ended up buying the apartment. So, I don't know what your individual progress is going to be for you to start at and move forward. That will start to clarify as we go through this. But it may be a rug, it may be a stove, it may be the bay window, it may be your dream home, right? So as we go through, this is going to be an individual process on what choices you're going to make. But I'm telling you, if you follow the process and you don't betray yourself when the choice comes up to do the right action, by law, scientifically, like math, you have to get it. You have to get it. So that's just the way God set it up. So it's going to be exciting to see what people get in the way of their rugs and their stoves and their bay windows, because it's going to happen. I know there are people here that will do this and that will play at 100%, and they'll start getting those things, whatever they are for them. So this self-actualization, I'm actually contemplating putting this at the front of my presentation when I get started. I want to start attracting people that are committed to self-actualization. Like, that's who I want on the team. People that are not just going to look at this like, oh, I'll give it a try and see if it works, you know, or I'll try it for a month or whatever. I really want to, this is one of the things that I've been contemplating is, you know, what's that next level for me as a leader? For me as a person that's out in the world that really wants to create progress in humanity. And so helping people to understand that when they opt in with the Forever Pack, it's still always the Forever Pack in getting started. It's that first month, minimum 1 month on the Forever Pack, right? But progressing forward, so there's actually going to be some built-in things to evolve people in self-actualization in these different areas. Let me pull this back up. So with health, in wealth, and in life. So the health, we can self-actualize with the products. So what would be the ultimate in self-actualization with the products? You reaching the absolute highest level that you're capable of reaching when it comes to fueling the body. So I'm talking about every part of the body, your skeletal system, your brain, and the chemicals that are created off the nutrition you're putting in your body. So really, to me, as an example, putting more isogenics in your body and loving that, that's part of the self-actualization. It's this journey to where we don't do that because we have to, or because it's some kind of outward thing that we're trying to force ourselves to do. Self-actualization is actually doing that because it's a part of who you're becoming, right? And that's a progressive process. And so just as an example, we traveled home and I ate more isogenics while I was in Europe than we did food there. I mean, why would I not, right? That's just in my personal self-development and fueling my body. I realized that ready-made food out there is part of the problem. It's detrimental to my health. And I'm not going to change that, whether I'm on vacation or I'm at work or I'm, you know, it's the holidays or wherever I'm at. I'm going to fuel my body the best I can at all times and in all places and in all things. And that's been an evolving process, but it's literally to the point almost all isogenics. And with some of these new products like the bone broth, I'm just loving that and how it fits into the, you know, the nooks and crannies of my day and what that's doing for me and the tri-release and just the products isogenics has evolved to where we're at now. I mean, when they started, it was just the shake and the cleanse. That was the two pillars. In 2005, they added the ionics. And sometimes people are like, well, I don't want them to change things. You got to be aware of that right now. People are like, people don't like change. I remember as a mechanic, they made us read this book, Who Moved My Cheese, right? People don't like to have their habits and patterns interrupted. We're creatures of habit, right? But so people are like, they're kind of like, there are some people who are like feeling like, who moved my cheese, when like they're going to add more products to isogenics. But back in 2002, when they started, it was just the shake and the cleanse. But then ionics came out, that became a pillar. That was 3 years later. And then isogenesis came out in 2011. Those are considered pillars of health now. That did not start out. It's been an evolving process, right? And you know, some of these other products that have just brand new products, I am absolutely loving. They have become a staple for me. And they've literally helped me to self-actualize on a higher level. And that's one of the things that's actually helped me to come up with this program, this course that we're going to do. So we traveled home, we left, and it's like almost the exact opposite over in Europe. Like when it's daytime over there, you guys are sleeping in the middle of the night. And so we woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to fly home. And then it was like about 13 hours, you know, airplanes with layovers and everything, probably about 14, 15 hours. And then getting home, so didn't hardly sleep on the plane, a little bit, but not much. I cleansed while I was traveling. And I was using the bone broth with the cleanse and the snacks. That's it. And a couple isolates. And so I cleansed that whole time. But by the time I got home, it was 2:00 by the time we got to the US. And it was like 2:00 in the afternoon. So I just kept cleansing and doing the protocol. Got home, went to sleep about 10:30 that night. So that was easily over 24 hours of being up with no sleep. And on top of that, the stress of traveling. And I woke up at 4:00 in the morning. 4 a.m. I was like, zing, there was no way I was going to get back to sleep, you guys. And so I got up and did a few things around here. By 5:00, I decided I'm going to go work out. That was this morning. And I had one of the best workouts I've had in a long time. I took my amped nitro and I crushed it at the gym. I didn't even take a nap today. I thought I'm going to hit a wall sometime today. I haven't hit a wall yet. It's because of the products and what I'm putting in my body and how I'm fueling my body. And yeah, the work that I'm doing is in alignment and in harmony, with the principles of God, God's principles. And so that adds enthusiasm, but it has a large part to do with self-actualizing with the products that Isagenix has to offer, and how much of that I'm fueling my body with living food, and I'm not putting in the destructive stuff, the stuff that's detrimental. And so what I'm talking about here, that's the highest level, right? And I truly believe that Isagenix is, I'm not saying there's not other good products out there, but I posted this on Facebook the other day. It is the single greatest company to offer a full-on lifestyle in an easy, it tastes incredibly good. There's nothing compared. It's unparalleled in its ability to help people self-actualize when it comes to their health. And health, I mean, on a whole level. Mind, your brain chemistry, and everything about your physical body, okay? So now with the wealth, the compensation plan, you can self-actualize with that as well. There's no limit to how much Isagenix says you can make, and they have no say in how much you can make. It's just going to be all action-based, right? So you can make an unlimited amount of income based on your own personal actions, not somebody else deciding whether or not you deserve it. So we've eliminated anybody that has any say in that. So we can self-actualize with Isagenix, with our health and our wealth. And that's going to bleed over into every area of your life, because to be able to do that in both of those areas, you've mastered some principles. You've done some personal development that allows you to self-actualize in those areas. It has to bleed over into other areas of your life. So on this hierarchy of self-actualization and needs, physiological, food, water, it's the very basics, food, water, and shelter. And then the next one up is safety and security. Those two are in our basic needs. Psychological needs are self-esteem and feeling loved and belonging and having relationships, both friends and then intimate relationships, and then a feeling of accomplishment, accomplishing something. So those are psychological needs. Self-actualization is achieving one's full potential and being creative in doing that. So that's self-fulfillment. This is really what we're after. And what happens is people make choices where they betray themselves and they start to get into this destructive justification behavior, which then our lives go sideways. We feel less than, we need antidepressants, we need caffeine for the wrong reasons to try and get us to even get things done that are down here on the basic needs level. That's survival, needing caffeine to exist down here. I love the e-shots. I'll take an e-shot every morning to get my mental clarity going and get the brain chemistry going, but I'm doing it not on a basic needs level. I'm doing it on a self-actualization level. And the e-shots are creating, they're a buffer for my organs. They're actually healthy for my organs. So I hope that that's making some sense here. So we want to help people self-actualize here, but you've got to have this information right here. The science of getting rich, and we're going to apply it with both. So it's really the Tony Robbins and Isagenix coming together. And I use Tony Robbins as the ultimate personal development, like hardcore, right? Like not for it's not a Sunday afternoon drive. This is going to be something that's really going to challenge you of whether or not you're going to betray yourself when the choice comes up to take the actions that I'm going to give to you to do. I'm going to give to you very specific, very detailed actions. You're not going to be left wondering what to do in this process. And that's going to be where I don't feel like this has ever happened before. giving you the very specifics of both worlds together. And I can do that because I've lived it. So let me see if I'm leaving any. And so this right here, you guys, you got to come into this with the mindset that this is a lifelong journey. There's no finish line to this. You're not going to beat yourself up by not getting to a certain point in a certain amount of time. I still struggle with my weight. It's still a battle for me. I've been in isogenics for 14 years. I had this conversation with Kathy Cooper the other day. I'm like, it's more about personal development. It's not about getting these products. People will justify and they'll make the wrong choices because of the betrayal, which is a personal development thing. Because I'm still struggling with my weight, not like I did before, but I'm not at my optimal level of what I know I'm capable of being. Like Wendy, she just took world champion, right, in figure competition. But you know, I'm not gonna live my life on that level like she did. She couldn't even live her life on that level. So there's gonna be this up and down, this constant journey with my health and my weight. And so it's not whether the products are gonna work, it's how am I viewing this as a personal philosophy? How am I applying this as my lifelong journey? Am I doing it in a destructive way? Or am I doing it in a way that's moving me even closer to self-actualization, even though I'm still up and down, you know, it's kind of waffling back and forth. It's oscillating with my health, with my weight. Does that make sense? So when you come into this, you got to come into it with that. This is something, self-actualization is what I'm going to commit to for life. If you're not on, the best way to avoid this destructive justification behavior, the best way to avoid it is to always be on a dedicated, committed personal development journey or program. To always be on that and seeking self-actualization would help you from falling into this destructive justification behavior where we don't make the right choices. Because if you're on a personal development journey for life, you're going to know very clearly which choices are the better choices to be making. That's part of your program every day, right? Is identifying what those are and then to thine own self be true. All right, so we're gonna take that where we weave those together in a way, again, very detailed, because we're gonna do this specifically with isogenics and the personal development. So it's gonna start Monday morning, December 2nd, I think it is, that first Monday of December. That gives you an opportunity to get the book, you know, if you want to start reading the book and gleaning through it, but we're gonna read through it literally. So this is gonna be a long, drawn out thing. Like I'm committed to this for life. So what I'm doing every Monday morning isn't anything different other than I'll be sharing it together with you guys as a mastermind. But it's what I do every morning anyway. So like with the podcast, that was about 6 or 7 years that we did that. And that was twice a week. So, you know, I'm committed to this for the long haul, and it's gonna be a long drawn out, not a long drawn out process, but it's gonna be a process, an evolving process, okay? Because self-actualization, you're really never gonna read it. You're just gonna keep progressing, reach it. You're just gonna keep progressing forward. But your life your results will be evolving. It's gonna be Monday morning. As of right now, it'll be the same time as the Healthy Mind and Body. It's taking place at that, it's gonna replace that one. So some of you are already familiar with that. It's gonna be recorded and put on YouTube. I'm probably gonna title it something like Empowered to Have It All, Week 1 in my Mechanic to Millionaire YouTube. And so then the second week will be Empowered to Have It All, Week 2. And so, you know, we'll get to where we're up to 54 weeks and beyond. And then those will be posted. I don't want to start a new Facebook group. This is not a whole new, you know, like system. This is just something that is just integrating kind of things that have been out there and putting them into one. So don't make new Facebook groups. Let's not, you know, let's just keep this as normalized as possible through what we've already created. I'll post the YouTubes in the ISA Team M2M and in the Forever University. So just like what we've been doing in the past. And then if you're not in either of those, if you don't use Facebook, then you can just go to the YouTube Mechanic to Millionaire channel and identify them by weeks. get the science of getting rich. That's, to me, that's mandatory. And now, you know, whether or not you do that, you know, that's going to be your personal, I don't think that's an issue, but just it's mandatory that you get the book and you follow along through that. I would recommend getting the hard copy so you can write in it. Maybe you're somebody that doesn't like to write in the book. Maybe I'll challenge you to write in the book and underline things and write in the columns. But you know, have your folder as well. Take notes. You could get the audio version if you want as well, but that's just an option, not to replace the written one. Okay, so then just kind of reiterating what I had already said, it's a process like the podcast. It will unfold the more weeks we get through. And that's why I'm going to post it to YouTube. Those will be essential that you have access to each week. So we're going to be covering the mind. That's going to be the book. This is an exact science to accomplishing your goals, no matter what they are, how big or how small, and then they'll evolve. And then you have the decision of whether you want to go to the next one. If you want the rug, and then you want the stove, and okay, and we'll move forward. The body, literally getting to where you're eating more isogenics than food from the store, right? And that's an evolving process. But what I would really like to see is when people get in, that we start to help them understand that they're getting involved with something that's going to help them to create self-actualization in their life. And even with the compensation plan, I'll get to that down here, but let me just speak to it now. Even somebody that's not coming in it to win it and replace their income with isogenics, why not start creating a retirement program for you? So with this personal development, this self-actualization program, which, you know, I could charge hundreds, thousands of dollars for, you know, to do something this detailed. I'm not going to, it's free. It's going to be, you know, people are just going to have to hold themselves accountable. I'm not going to follow up with people. I will during the Zoom, and maybe we'll have some open mic stuff, you know, going on and where people want to share, but I'm not going to follow up with any of you and make sure that you're doing this. So, but literally, I mean, something that you're going to learn here, you would learn at any Tony Robbins or Bob Proctor, and they charge thousands of dollars for this kind of material. You know, you spend a lot of time accumulating it, but Isogenics gives me the opportunity to be able to share that as one with the team, and so, but even what if this could, you know, even for a brand new person that's coming in, they're not interested in the business, but everybody's interested in progress. You start talking about, I mean, Tony Robbins is a billionaire. People are hungering and thirsting for that. Like, people need to be told exactly what to do sometimes. And they need to be prodded, kind of like cattle with that little electric thing to get them to go through the chute, right? We need that mentorship. We need that person that's going to guide and help us through. But then they leave the event and they fall back into their old rut, right? So that's why this is going to be an ongoing process. It has to be ongoing. Otherwise, you would fall back into your own rut. You would forget. Your mind's not a memory bank. It's a workshop. So why there will be people that we start attracting as we present it this way. I decided I'm going to put that self-actualization pyramid at the beginning of the presentation, because it is really one of my biggest reasons for going out and committing to doing what I'm doing and sharing the message of isogenics. I'm just going to be a little more clear with that. Hey, this is a self-actualization process. You're going to have access to this. And people love that. They feel that immediately. Most people are going to resonate with that, and we'll start attracting those people that are committed on a higher level because we're asking for it. We're presenting it. We're opening up the channels for it. So we will attract it, those people. And so even if they're not coming in, why not, through this self-actualization environment and culture, you know, share isogenics and build for yourself a retirement, even if it's really slow. What if it retires you 5 years early? What if it retired you 10 years earlier? Or what if you go for the moon, right? So what if it gave you an extra $2,000 a month at retirement, or $5,000 a month at retirement, or $5,000 a week at retirement, because you're committing to the self-actualization program, which is going to have that built in, because it's not just self-actualization with personal development. It's with the vehicle, right? So you're going to become a walking, living, breathing billboard if you self-actualize with your health, And guess what? You're going to want to share that with other people, because when you're feeling good about something and you're excited, you just automatically share. So why not build up a retirement for people who had no, it's just going to be set up that way. So, so the body, right? All right. So let me just read these. There is an exact science. Okay, I read that, whether it's big or small goals. The body, any ready to eat food is, it's bad for us. I think detrimental is the right word, right? Like that means it's not good for you. Any ready to eat food in the store, and even our produce with the pesticides that are in them. Last I remember, the pesticides are poisons. So anything that we're really eating, that's just where we've gotten to in society. Like we've evolved to this place where like food is gone bad, like it's not a good deal. So Isogenics is committed to making sure we don't have those chemicals, to making sure that we have living food, to make sure that the enzymes are in there. It's just a complete program. So self-actualizing with the products of Isogenics, and then the compensation plan, whether that's in it to win it or a retirement plan, or just creating some extra income to reach some of the goals that you might have in the self-actualization process. The rug's going to cost you some money. So why not take that from what you can build up through this Isogenics? And then 4, it's still always the forever pack. I would like to, start getting people and be more clear about getting on healthy mind and body. So with that hierarchy of needs and self-actualization, we can actually direct people to a healthy mind and body. So minimum 1 month with the forever pack, and then using the right scientific method, you will evolve who you're being on a health level when it comes to using more and more of the products. And you'll do it because you love to do it, you're thriving to do it, and it's becoming a part of who you are, who you're being. So fueling, fitness, mental capacity. And then the comp plan, finance your dreams and your goals, a retirement program for you, creating an environment that supports the individual. Just diversifying. You're gonna progress. You're gonna start building skills, and you're gonna invest in yourself, right? And that goes right along with being. It's that with a compensation plan attached to it, right? That's how we know if we're actually self-actualizing in some of these other areas where we're progressing in our skills and in self-actualization. You would become more successful in what you're doing. Your communication skills, your intuition, your listening skills, your identifying skills, all of those will go up as we institute the principles that are in this book. So you're going to be given specific instructions to follow through with. And so 2 of those right now are going to be get the book, and December 2nd is when we'll start this. And then we'll put the recordings up, hopefully that day, like very, expeditiously getting those up on the YouTube. So let me just see if anybody has any clarifying questions here. Okay, so somebody saw that it's $5.89 at Amazon for the actual hard copy. Wow, there's a lot of stuff here. I don't know if anybody, Crystal, if you've been reading any of the chat stuff. Let me just unmute you and just see if you have, and if there's anything that we want to.
Yeah, people are just talking that you can get it even cheaper. Jojo found it for like under $4.
Okay, so cool. Yeah. Again, I would recommend the hard copy. Let's go old school here, you guys. There are still bookstores out there for a reason. But if you get the electronic one, that's fine too. I want you to be able to read it and internalize some stuff on your own as you're reading it. Okay, anything else, other questions that have come up?
I don't think so. Everybody's really excited.
Where's Jojo? Let me see if I can. Oh, there you are, Jojo. Jojo, anything that you see or anything that needs to be addressed based on what's been chatting here?
Nope, we're all good.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Crystal or Jojo, since I unmuted you guys, before I unmute everybody and see if anybody has any other questions? Okay. Oh, Digna. Let me go. Okay, I'll go to Digna. Raise your hand. Yeah, you guys, if you raise your hand, I can unmute you. That might be the best way rather than unmuting everybody. So, yeah, let me get you, Digna.
There
Okay.
you go.
Hey,
Hey, Dave, welcome back. We missed you so much.
it feels good to be back. It was good to get away and get that little reprieve, but it's so awesome to be back. Thank you.
Yeah, we missed you. So, but we enjoy you having a great time with your family. So that's always great to come full of energy. I'm just fired up and excited about this book and what you're going to do with the team. And I encourage everyone to get on this, guys. Willie and I did a book club with our team 5 years ago. And we went through this book a couple of times in that club. And lives were transformed, including ours, just from the principles of that book, if we apply them, obviously. But it's such a great read and a great listen. Like, listen to it all the time. I think I've listened to it like 100 times. I'm going to get a copy again, and I'm going to get started tomorrow because I know what it did for me 5 years ago. And I know it's going to feel, and I'm going to hear stuff that I know I didn't hear the first time or I didn't catch because I wasn't ready for. And now I'm in a different place. And so is everybody on this call tonight. So Dave, man, thank you. I'm so glad you're back and fired up and ready to get us ready for 2020. I really appreciate you and what you do for everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you, Digna. Thanks for your contributions too and all that you're doing. Looking forward to, and you know, this is going to be a mastermind, so there's going to be opportunities for people to share and some insight. And so we have some incredible people that we'll be able to glean from as well. That'll be a part of this. I can see the people that are showing their video. Anybody want to say anything? Raise your hand. If I don't see any raised hands in the chat or in the participants. Okay, so I'll give you a second here just to raise your hand one more time. Patsy, okay. Okay, you're unmuted.
I've listened to Bob Proctor on YouTube when I was going down the road in my truck, and I have so wanted the workbook that goes with this. And I'm so excited about this. Thank you so much, Dave.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm excited about it too. There's going to be some, I mean, just like we see with the products, we will have some amazing stories of magnificent wins that people start having. So thank you, Patsy. Okay, anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay, and I'm just going to check the Chad. Yeah, let's. Hey, Chad.
What's up?
Hey.
I feel like we've been saying this a lot over the past 6 months or so and longer. Thank you, Dave. Just you keep coming to surface with more and more awesomeness that's going to help everyone on this call and beyond this call. So I just wanted to chime in and say thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Chad. Melissa.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Diane, and we are wondering if, this is Dave, if we should do Healthy Mind and Body at the same time, or should we give that a break and just focus on this? What do you think?
I'm going to do it. I just finished Healthy Mind and Body a couple of days ago. I'm going to do it again just because it gets me to log in. So when I come into my office, I log in, I get that little green check or whatever it is, that little check that says I did it. But I'm going to use the questions as best I can around what's going on with what we're doing here. Okay. So sometimes I ignore the questions on the exercises, or I switch them up a little bit to where they match what I'm actually pursuing. Like it may say, go find out about a product in Isogenics and learn about that product. Well, I completely ignore that and I just fill in that box with whatever else I feel would be something that I triggered to put in that box. That would be with what I'm currently doing. Okay. It's just some people use journals. They can use a journal that's a calendar and they can write in it. For some reason, I like the computer and you know, that's a way for me. Okay. So, but I would like to see people do the healthy mind and body that first month they come in, and try and juggle both of them at the same time. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's a good question. I would just leave some wiggle room in there for you guys to decide how you want to, make sure that you're holding yourself accountable every day.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's some way of measuring, right? You want to measure yourself. Those little check marks are a measure. And if I miss a day where it doesn't give you the check mark, it'll let you complete the day, but it stays blank, you guys. And I have to confess, I have some blank days on this last time I went through. But I did do them. I completed them, but I have some blank days. But that just helps me to know, because I'm measuring myself, right? It's an important part of my personal accountability.
Yeah.
And if you're not measuring yourself, then it's hard to tell if you're actually doing the do or not.
Those little green check marks, you're right. It's like I stopped also. I think I was just a day behind you last time. I'm like, well, now what do I do? I need that. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
And maybe the old us might have just quit and said, all right, I screwed up, right? I'm done. I'm not going to, and you just don't log back in, right?
Right.
But, we don't do that anymore. So, yeah, there's some good principles there as well. Some good.
Okay. Cool. Thank you so
Anybody
much.
else? Yep. Anybody else? Heather, yeah. I love the response too, you guys, just before you go ahead. I just love when you guys actually have something to ask or share or a statement. It just adds more dynamics. So don't be afraid if you're feeling like you want to share something. In the morning time on that Monday, we're going to keep it to an hour as best as possible. If the cutting point is right after the hour, as soon as you take a breath and stop talking, if we're over the hour, we're going to cut it right there. But I'm going to try and keep it right within that hour. But right now, I'm not committed to a time. Heather.
I just had a question and a comment. My question, I just wanted to clarify the time. So it's going to be every Monday, starting December 2nd, 7 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Mountain Time, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I put it in my phone. I was like, I better double check on that first.
That's what it is. You got it.
And I just want to say how excited I am, because I feel like I grew the most when we were doing your Mechanic to Millionaire workbook courses. Like, I grew the most when I was doing that. It was such a powerful tool for me, and I feel like that's what this is going to be, and I am so grateful. So
yeah, it's going to be that times 10, really, because the Mechanic to Millionaire workbook was just generalized, right? I mean, there's going to be specifics, you guys, that if you do them, you're going to get the result. Cool. Good share. All right. Anybody else?
You might probably doing that.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
really?
Vicky. And let me get you unmuted.
Oh,
Okay, there you go.
okay. Hey, Dave. Hey, everybody. And first off, like Chad said, I mean, I say thank you, Dave, an awful lot. But with this, I'd like to say I started reading The Science of Getting Rich a long time ago, but like so many things, I did not pursue it. I did not dive into it. So number one, this for me, getting into the detail and having the set time every week for me not to betray myself and to be in the group is huge. And I truly do thank you. And I do believe it is so divine, and as Laura says a lot, and you guys, like, no coincidences. So absolutely, I'm feeling that, and I really do.
I have chills everywhere. It's just like my whole body's vibrating, because this morning it was just that inspiration where it just came in, and it was just that moment that this is your next step, Dave, and this is
Yes.
This is it. So I appreciate that. Thanks for giving me chills.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? I'm looking at the video, people. Okay. All right, let me just go through the chat, make sure nobody else has raised their hand. Okay, that looks like we're there. Okay, cool. All right, you guys, so we will see you on December 2nd. We'll do, we've got the, did you want to say something else, Melissa? Okay. is it Diane? Hang on, it's not unmuting. Let me. There you go.
So is there a specific version of the book or reprint?
You know, I haven't seen a version. I've got an electronic version. I've got the audio version, and they're all pretty spot on. There hasn't been, that I know of, too much diversion.
Okay.
So I don't think that it's going to matter as much. This one, again, it's not going to be, this one won't be in print. In fact, I tried finding more of this exact same one, unless somebody else has put it up for sale, a used one.
You know, what print date is that one?
This was done by Life Success Publications out of Scottsdale, Arizona.
Oh, really?
Well, that's where we are.
Yeah, right.
I know. But I think any of them will be all right that are out there that are in print.
Okay.
That's fine.
Well,
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, you guys. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see you on the Thursday morning, 7 Steps to Success. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.